Good morning, Year 6. I hope you're all well and are ready for another day of writing. Well done for making such a fantastic start to our new unit on complaint letters yesterday. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with today. First, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see who we're complaining to in today's lesson. Now, as you can see, our objective today is to establish a formal tone. My turn. Formal tone. A formal tone, as we discussed yesterday, means writing in standard English without the slang and without any abbreviations where possible. To remind you, here's the structure for writing a complaint letter. We always begin with a formal greeting, followed by our reason for writing. Then we provide some background information or some context, which is usually how we stumbled upon the problem. The most important part, perhaps, is to detail the problem. So exactly the issues why we are complaining, or exactly the issues we're complaining about rather, and the consequences of those issues. So how have you suffered as a result of what you're complaining about? Then penultimately, we need to think about what we'd like to happen. What would a better outcome be? Perhaps we can even make suggestions to the person we're complaining to about how to improve their service or their product. We may even ask for compensation in some situations. And finally, we will leave with a really formal closing remark. Now, do you recognise these? Have a think. You may have seen them before. Or you may recognise the name on the logo. These are Canada Goose jackets. They are a really popular jacket, particularly in wintertime, because they're known for keeping you incredibly warm. Some of you may have these jackets, or some of you may know people who have these jackets, and certainly they do look very fashionable. And it's important to remember that in today's lesson, even if you do have one of these jackets, this is no way a judgment against you or indeed anyone who else has this jacket. However, we are going to be writing to Canada Goose headquarters, and we are going to be complaining to them. And our complaint is going to be based on an issue that has been in the news recently. Let's have a look at what that issue is. You can see here a picture of a coyote and of a duck. And both of them say, well, one of them says, I'm a living bean, not a piece of fur trim. Boycott Canada Goose. And the other says, I'm a living bean, not a jacket filling. And these posters were made by PETA, which is a society which campaigns for the ethical or the fair or the humane, like the kind treatment of animals. Now, you may or you may not know, coyote fur lines the hood of Canada Goose jacket. So these hoods are made with coyote fur, and duck or geese feathers, down feathers are used to fill the inside of the coats, and that's what makes them so warm. What's the problem, you may ask? Now, first of all, some of you might not agree with using fur at all, but that's not the main issue, or that's not the main reason why we're writing. Because sometimes when fur is used in jackets, the animals are killed in a really humane way. Let's have a look at what the problem is with Canada Goose, according to lots of people. So PETA say, you may have seen someone wearing a Canada Goose jacket this winter. Now remember, PETA campaigns for the fair and the ethical and the humane, which means kind, treatment of animals. They go on to say, what many people don't realise about these garments, so these clothes, is that the retailer subjects defenceless animals to an agonising death in order to produce their fur trims and down feather fillers. So essentially, what PETA are saying is that in order to get their coats, Canada Goose put these animals through agony. Now, some of you might not agree with using real fur at all. Some of you might have products that contain real fur. There are other organisations who use real fur but treat the animals in perhaps a kinder way. But PETA say that Canada Goose are among the worst for inhumane, that means cruel, treatment of animals. Now, there are some slides that will show you some images of the coyotes being trapped because it's important we understand exactly what they go through in order to write a really persuasive letter. If at any stage that you find these a little bit difficult to look at, then please skip through the video. Intentionally, I haven't included really graphic images, but you can read around the subject more on the internet if that's something you feel like you want to do. I know lots of you are passionate about the treatment of animals, so feel free to read more about this because it does feature heavily in the news at the moment. So, according to PETA, what happens to these coyotes? And here you can see one of the coyotes being trapped. There's cruelty in every stitch of the company's jackets. Wow, what a powerful statement to make. These wild coyotes are trapped for their fur, and they can suffer for days while facing blood loss, shock, dehydration, frostbite, gangrene, and attacks by predators. What PETA is saying is that Canada Goose trap the animals and just leave them to die in pain. And they really disagree with that because they're saying it's really inhumane and cruel. Mothers desperate to get back to their starving pups have even been known to chew through their own limbs, so their own arms or legs, to escape. And animals who haven't already died by the time the trapper comes to them are then killed in a brutal way. So this is why PETA are saying that these coyotes are treated in a cruel way, and why they are saying Canada Goose is an inhumane organisation. Now, here is a PETA representative. I'm going to play this video. I'm going to play some of the video so that you can see it from his perspective. He argues for the equal treatment or the kind treatment of animals when they die.
Hi, I'm Jack Harries for PETA. When the weather drops, we all want to stay cozy and warm. However, there's nothing colder than wearing fur from animals that have been violently trapped, killed, and skinned. That's why I'm boycotting Canada Goose, and I hope you will too after you see what I'm about to show you. Coyotes who are caught in steel traps for their fur may languish for days, experiencing blood loss, shock, dehydration, gangrene, and attacks by predators. Mother coyotes who are desperate to return to their starving pups have been known to chew through their own limbs in an attempt to escape. Animals who manage to survive until the trappers return are often strangled, stamped on, or bludgeoned to death before being skinned. Birds suffer too.
So he said there that birds also suffer from this treatment, and you can see here that the birds are all trapped together. Remember, the coyote fur is used for the hood, and the down feathers from the ducks and the geese are used for the filling of the jacket. And you can watch more of that on YouTube if it is something you're interested in. And if you do feel passionate about this, sometimes it's hard to see, but if we feel we have to really understand what's going on so that we can feel passionate enough to make a difference. And as I say, even if you don't feel as strongly as Jack, for example, we really need to try and get ourselves into his shoes today when we're complaining. Now, let's have a look. Okay, so let's have a look at our purpose. The purpose of our letter today is to persuade Canada Goose to stop using fur and down in its jackets. So that's the overall purpose. And we're going to do that by following our structure that I discussed at the beginning of the lesson. We're going to start today by really establishing a formal tone in our introduction and stating our reasons for complaining. In the following days, we're going to tell them what our main issues are. We're going to articulate what we have seen in these videos, and we're going to describe how we know the coyotes suffer, and then we're going to propose some alternative solutions that we think could work instead. Perhaps better treatment of the animals, or perhaps using fake fur. I'm really excited to get started with today's lesson, so please stay tuned and we'll work through my model together.